What's the best way to fact check your friends and family? Hi, thanks for watching. Today is Friday, Fact Check Friday, and I'm going to do something a little bit differently than I normally do. Now, normally on Fact Check Friday, I will check someone in the media, another fact checker, a politician, something like that. But today I want to talk about how to fact check people in your own life that you have a personal relationship, like your friends and family, someone that you want to continue to have a relationship with. And I think most of us don't do a very good job at this. And so I'm just going to give you some tips on how to do this more effectively. The first thing to keep in mind is what your goal is in fact checking someone. Now, with Thanksgiving last week, a lot of people got together. With me, I got together with my family that I don't see but a couple times a year. And you have the instinct to correct them when they make mistakes or when they're just spouting some utter nonsense. But you have to think about what your goal is. If your goal is to just dunk on your brother because he's spouting some nonsense, okay, fine. And maybe your brother can take it. But not everybody in your family is like that. They might view you as a real jerk, and they don't want to listen to what you have to say. And so if you want to have any influence over them, you're going to have to approach this in a little bit different manner. You really have to think about what your goal is. And at least for me, what my goal when I fact check people is I would like to open their eyes and to show them that they might be influenced by some biased actors. Okay? But you have to be careful when you do this. You don't want to end up being dead right. Now, what I mean by being dead right is, yeah, you're correct, but no one wants anything to do with you anymore. And another example of dead right, just to drive that home, I live here in Portland. We got these long streets, and every 50 yards there's a crosswalk with what they call a wigwag. You hit the button, yellow lights flash, and then you're supposed to cross the street. But it's important that you are aware of your surroundings, because you certainly don't want to cross the street and get hit by a car that isn't paying attention. The same thing happens at a dinner table with your family. Is you may not be aware of people at the table that are just looking at you like, oh, you jerk. Just stop it. You're being mean. You don't want to be that person. One lesson that I got from my dad, I'm going to say hundreds of times, probably not 1,000, but hundreds, is he would tell me when I was a teenager, if you act like people won't want to be around you. And that's very true. The same goes for you're hanging out with family and friends. They say something that you want to fact check. You just dunk on them. They're not going to want to talk to you. Okay? So keep in mind that your goal is to get them to open their eyes and to maybe accept a different viewpoint. You're not going to be able to do that if they're really mad at you. Now, one thing that you can do is get people to agree that fact and opinion are not the same thing. Say someone makes a declarative statement about something that is an opinion, but they state it as if it's fact. You can interject and say, can we at least agree that this is an opinion? Because if you take something that someone is steadfast in and at least define it as an opinion, they're more able to listen to something else. If they think that it's a fact, they're unable to hear another viewpoint. And so just talk about the difference between facts and opinion. And if that is all that happens, you've made a huge impact on their life. Now, when you fact check, say one of your friends, you want them to know that they're wrong and you're right. And this is not really effective because so often people will tie their identity to their views. Now, I don't necessarily do this as much as most people. My views change a lot. In fact, a lot of my views have changed in the past 2 years that I've had this YouTube channel. But a more effective way of doing this is don't try to convince someone that they're wrong. Instead, try to understand where they got that idea. Understand why they think that. Okay? You want them to know that you care about where they got their information. That's really important, because once you get that information, say they got something from CNN or the New York Times, now if you want to discuss it further, you can attack CNN. You can attack the New York Times. You're not attacking them personally. And this is a difference maker when you're trying to convince someone in a fact check. Another important tip when you're trying to fact check one of your friends or your family is you really want to get across the point of view that being wrong is no big deal. Because if you're trying to convince them that they're wrong, okay, people don't like being wrong. And they need to know that being wrong is okay. I'm wrong all the time. I have no problem with it. When I make mistakes, people correct me in the comments, and I will admit that I made a mistake, that I left that out. It's really not a big deal to me. I am disappointed that I got it wrong, but I'm not tied to it. It's not tied to my identity. And if you want other people to be like that, you have to demonstrate that for them. And so one way that you can demonstrate that is in the conversations that you're having. Try to bring up how you were wrong about something and you changed your mind, and it's not a big deal. You demonstrate this over and over and over again, and they're going to know that you are a person that they can be wrong with. And that's important when you're trying to fact check someone. And the last tip I have for fact checking one of your friends and family is that you don't necessarily have to do it in front of everyone. They will often become defensive when you do that. So let's say you're talking about something. Let's say you have a nephew who says that the world is going to end in 12 years, right? Find out where they got that information. And at the end, you can say, hey, nephew, I really enjoyed talking about this subject with you. Hey, if I sent you a video about it, would you check it out? Now, they'll probably say yes. If they say no, no big deal, you tried. But you can then send them, say, one of my videos or someone else's that you think is appropriate, and they can watch it on their own. Because when people change, often that happens when they are by themselves. It doesn't happen that you correct someone in front of a group of people and they say, oh, you're right, I'm wrong, I've been wrong my whole life and I'm just changing right now, mark this calendar. That doesn't happen. It's a lot more subtle and gradual than that. And so if you can give them something that they can look at in their spare time, maybe they see it and they think, oh, you know what? This is a little bit different viewpoint than I would have considered before. You may have a huge impact if you do it that way, but if you just dunk on them in front of everyone, it's not going to work. Your goal with your family and friends is to have the reputation of being someone that you can talk to openly about things, and you're not going to make them feel bad, and you're not going to embarrass them in front of everyone else. And so the way to do that is to not embarrass them and to be open to listening to them. By taking these tips that I offered today, you're probably not going to want to dunk on someone at a big family dinner. But I believe if you do these tips, you'll have a much bigger influence over the people that you care about. I'd like to know your thoughts about these ideas. Please let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, please share it with someone else. Peace.